information from those sources. Okay, it could be you homeless. It could be you hungry. And maybe for a number of individuals out there, it could be you in one or both of those situations because you're struggling with a problem of a very, very special kind. It's a nice sounding, maybe to our ears, but to our hearts, minds, and souls, it is a very, very bad sounding word: addiction. And I've got someone, a very, very special someone in the studio with me today, and we're going to be talking about various aspects of that. And I think I'm just going to turn it over to him and let him introduce himself and give some contact information about what he is doing.
Hi, John. My name's Chris Gerhart. I'm a substance abuse counselor. One of the things that I do, one of many things that I do, is I provide substance abuse counseling services. My physical address is 201 West 4th Street in beautiful downtown Argenta, North Little Rock. 72114 if you need an address. Best way to reach me is at 501-478-0182. I have an email address. It's Christopher H. Gerhart at gmail.com. I have a website. It's ChristopherHGerhart.com. Not very creative with that part.
Okay. Well, now, where you're set up, are you there, like, say, for regular hours, days, and hours of operation?
I keep regular hours Monday through Friday from about 8 to 5. And I can do other hours by appointment. If someone needs to see me it's best to make an appointment. I am a sole proprietor, so I am the chief cook. I'm the bottle washer. I do
everything in between.
I do everything in between. So it's not that your particular case is not important. It's that I may have somebody else's. I may have somebody else sitting with me face to face, and there are some things that are easier to do. During normal business hours than there are than in the evenings. One of the things that I've done lately. I do Department of Transport. I'm qualified by the Department of Transportation to provide substance abuse evaluations for truck drivers, railroaders, people that work on the flight line, or people that work on a pipeline or something like that. And when those guys have a positive alcohol or drug test, they need to come see somebody.
Now, you said come see. Now, do they have to come to you? Are you willing, say, to go to them? Or?
I prefer if they come to see me because of some privacy, confidentiality type concerns. Part of the evaluation that I do with them, I do an in-depth assessment, but I also do an interview with their employer. And being able to talk with that employer is usually much easier during normal business hours than it is. And I understand people have to work and those sorts of things, but I also need to be able to talk with that employer as part of that evaluation process.
Okay. So once again, for the benefit of everybody, that it is much better if they'll come to your office here in town.
Correct. Gotcha. I'm in North Little Rock. I'm in Argenta. Plenty of free parking and all that other neat stuff. The easiest way to get a hold of me really is to call me at 501-478-0182.
Okay. Now, and once again, that's during regular business hours. Is there anything resembling like an emergency contact, after hours contact, anything like that?
I typically answer my cell phone most any time, but I am a family person and that sort of thing. So after about 10 o'clock at night, I'll let the voicemail get it.
Gotcha. Now, I've talked with people who have worked in various other substance abuse recovery outlets, halfway houses that deal with recovering addicts and so on.
Sure.
And usually there's been kind of a mixture of professional and personal factors or influences, however you want to describe it, that drew them in to this particular area. Let's put it substance abuse counseling.
Sure.
What were some of those professional and, if you will, personal factors that kind of pulled you into it?
Let's see. How do I say this correctly? I am someone that's had some problems with substances. I have not used any substances in over 20 years.
Okay.
I've had some people that were very instrumental in helping me to stop. I've had some people that have been very instrumental in helping me to stay stopped and make some changes in my life. Gosh, I'm also someone that has quite a number of letters behind my name.
Oh, okay.
I started college back in 1983. I finished my bachelor's degree in 2002. So if you're not a mathematician, that's 19 years to get a 4-year degree. That tells you something about my life in between there. But I've gotten my 4-year degree. I've also gotten a master's degree. I've also been licensed in Texas since 1995, I believe. Certified since 95 in Texas. When I moved here to Arkansas about 7 years ago, I got licensed here in Arkansas, and then I got and certified here in Arkansas. Recently, I got a master's addiction counselor certification through NADAC. That's the National Association of Addiction Counselors.
Right.
I'm also one of a few people that's certified in tobacco cessation in Arkansas. Yes.
Okay. Now, but we can go back to say, and I mean this in the best possible way, you are the voice of experience.
I have experience both professional and personal.
Okay.
And some academic chops.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this: from talking to so many different individuals, okay, I've talked to people who have been instrumental in coming up with various programs to deal, say, with alcohol abuse, sex addiction, narcotics addiction, and so on, and at first, it may seem like the systems, the programs that they're really emphasizing, that they're really, for lack of a better word, pushing, okay, they may strike someone as maybe similar in some ways, but maybe not so similar in others. Are there any aspects of what you yourself are doing, whether it's the tobacco cessation, whether it's helping in other forms of recovery? Are there any aspects of this type of counseling that you're doing that maybe others in similar jobs, similar roles are not doing, or maybe not doing as much of?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that I don't do, I don't accept insurance. Nor do I accept government payers.
Okay.
I really believe that unless people have some skin in the game, meaning they're paying for their own services.
Okay.
I really believe that if people pay for their own services, then it has value to them.
So yeah, like if a student is really showing that he or she is working hard and gets a good grade, and it's not just handed to the person for just showing up.
Sure, entirely. I really believe that substance abuse counseling that is given to somebody for free and for no cost has almost no value to that person.
Really?
I really believe that. I think that people have done some really well-meaning things in this area. However, about 15 years ago, I was working for a company in Waco, Texas, and we had two populations of offenders that were leaving the prison system. And one population of them, we charged a small nominal fee for each group that they attended and each individual session that they attended. And my thought at first was, my gosh, these people are not going to be able to do this. They're not going to do it. They're not going to they're not going to be involved. I was wrong. I was flat wrong. Because these people were paying for their services, because they paid something to be sitting in that chair, they found that chair to be useful.
An extra degree of responsibility there.
Sure. I believe that there's a big piece of personal accountability. There's a big piece of personal ownership. When someone's having treatment done to them, as opposed to treatment done with them or for them.
Now, would that include, for example, let's say that there's what's been described as an intervention to get someone weaned off alcohol. They send the person in. Oh, I'm the wife, or I'm the father. I'll be glad to pay for it.
I really think that the patient has to pay something. The patient has to give up something. even if that's giving up a pack of the cost of a pack of cigarettes. A pack of cigarettes is about $7 or $8 right now. I could get started on a rant all about tobacco right now if you really wanted to go there, but the price of the price of a pack of cigarettes has been cost adjusted for minimum wage ever since there's been a minimum wage.
No.
Think about it.
Really?
Think about it. A cost of a pack of conventional cigarettes these days is about $6 to $7. The current minimum wage is
7 something an hour.
and the take home from that is the take home from that is about $5.50 or $6 per hour. And if someone's smoking a pack of cigarettes every day, 7 days per week, that means that they're doing sharecropping, effective sharecropping. They're working 1 full day per week just to smoke cigarettes. Sounds crazy, but it is.
I never would have thought of it that way.
Well,
Seriously, I never would have thought of it.
That's come through some experience. That's come through talking with a lot of people that are tobacco users that want to stop.
Now, I was looking over some information that you gave me, and I don't know if this falls under what we were talking about. Maybe what other counselors are either not doing or minimizing or so on. I see that you put a very great deal of emphasis on having like a written game plan.
Oh, sure. I really believe that people have to have some type of a schedule. We were talking
Stability.
about stability. We were talking about this beforehand. That one of the things that I see people that are incarcerated doing, that they have while they're incarcerated, is they have a schedule. Every morning they wake up. Every morning they go get something to eat. They usually have some time in there to do some physical activities, some exercise. They become involved in some education. They become involved in some religious activities. They become involved in a lot of different things. And a lot of times when they leave the incarcerated environment, they stop doing those things. Try this sometime. Ask somebody who's been released recently, when's the last time they wrote a letter? When's the last time they read a book? When's the last time they talked to a family member? While they're incarcerated, these things are very, very important to them.
When was the last time? And I should have mentioned this earlier about the exhibit of inmate art that I've seen.
Sure.
When was the last time they did that? Maybe as a bit of self-therapy or something like that.
Sure, I think creativity and all sorts of creative expression are really helpful. It helps people.
So having a game plan, that should be something, maybe as you see it then, that they need to have from day one, or arguably even before they get out.
Prior to day one.
Before getting out.
Sure. Most of us that are citizens and things like that, we have a PDA in our hand. We have we have a computer that we use. We have a Garfield calendar hanging on the side of the refrigerator. We have some type of schedule about what's going on in our lives. And one of the things that I've seen, it gets very aggravating for people that are freshly out. There's a lot of really high value things to do. There are some things like reintegrating with family, trying to find a job, making some appointments with things like probation officers or parole officers. Those things are really, really important. And if you forget to do those, there's some consequences in a lot of different areas. But one of the biggest consequences is life becomes aggravating. It becomes unfulfilling. And it becomes, have you ever forgotten to do something?
No, seriously. Every day.
Right. But some of those things, if you forget to do them, you'll get locked up.
Right.
And you won't be able to meet the goals that you have, such as having a job, spending time with children, doing all those other citizen type of things.
Now, I before we went on the air, I also heard you talking about it's similar to when someone gets out of military service.
Sure. There's in the military, and what I've noticed about I've worked with offenders and former offenders for most of my career. I've been doing this over 20 years. I started working with people that were leaving prison leaving prison, going into a therapeutic community. I worked inside prisons. I worked in a maximum security prison for a number of years. I'm also a veteran of the military, and a lot of times some of the same challenges are there, John. There's a lot of structure that's there in the prison system of wake up at a certain time, go to bed at a certain time, have 3 meals per day
at a certain
time, and that people get their needs met, get some basic needs met on a schedule. It may not be the best schedule for everybody, but it's on a schedule. And a lot of times when people leave a controlled environment or a structured environment, they lack structure. They lack not necessarily personal discipline, but they lack the ability. They seem to lack the ability or the practice of setting their own schedule, of making decisions about their own time, so that they can meet their own goals.
Now that kind of sounds, at least in various respects, that kind of sounds like the whole purpose for a transitional home.
Sometimes some people need transitional housing. Some people have not yet developed the skill and ability to make effective decisions for themselves.
And that could, once again, that could come into the character traits, the what they did get, what they didn't get, maybe when they were incarcerated or say in the military.
Sure, or even previous to that.
And once again, that is where you would come in to provide the help, but once again, to make sure that they themselves say, I'm ready.
That when someone's ready to make some changes, nothing's going to stop them. Nothing's going to stop them. One of the things that I've seen about people that have substance abuse problems is that there's a lot of really neat qualities that these folks have. I say these folks, I'm one of them. Enthusiasm is one of them. How enthusiastic have you seen people be about getting their next drug or their next drink?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
How creative have you seen people be about getting their next drink or their next drug?
Oh, but I don't have a problem. The thing was, I fainted and someone poured some bourbon down my throat to...
Sure. When someone comes up with that, there's usually something goes. They're usually not ready to stop. When someone's really ready to stop, the qualities that they had, tolerance, patience, persistence, perseverance, these qualities will serve them well staying sober.
Now, and so many people have said that the real responsibility, the real onus is on the person going through the transition, recovering from the addiction. Okay, what about the importance of families?
I've loved to blame all my problems on my family. I'm sure lots of people that have substance abuse problems would love to blame their problems on their families. I think that families can sometimes, in the spirit of helping and trying to help, can help too much.
Enabling again.
And in some ways enabling, continuing the problem.
Well,
in some ways, families can be a great help.
Well, now
families are people that can be. Thing is, family is in a unique position. There's someone that can be honest with them, and because most families have known that person for a very long time. They hopefully have known them before they ever picked up a drink or a drug.
Now, and now you were talking about meeting with employers.
Sure.
Okay. Are you, or do you, do you place just as much emphasis, say, on meeting with the family member of someone to maybe get a fuller development on a case or something
when I can. With one of the things that's kind of interesting about substance abuse counseling is that when someone comes in for substance abuse counseling, the fact that they're coming in for substance abuse counseling is protected by some federal guidelines that have to do with confidentiality and those sorts of things. I can't tell anybody that someone else is one of my clients unless they give me written permission to do so.
The so-called HIPAA laws.
The HIPAA Act, there's some particular regulations that I have to follow that go actually beyond HIPAA. It's kind of like HIPAA plus, that I'm not allowed to tell anybody that someone's ever sat in my office unless they give me written permission to do so. I've had some family members call my office and say, I need to tell you about my son who's one of your clients, and I can't, and I have to tell them I can't confirm or deny the admission of anybody because of these privacy guidelines. I can't tell you that they're here unless they've given me written permission to do that.
And so there again, okay.
But I do think it's important when I can get a family member to buy in. When there's these four main areas. I wanted to make sure that we covered these of liver, livelihood, legal. When we talk about health, relationships, employment, and someone's legal status, that these are areas where people tend to have problems with substances, or they tend to have symptoms with these substances. But these are also the same areas, the very same areas where people have improvements. And these are some of the same vehicles for change and accountability. Someone's doctor saying to them, "Gosh, Joey, if you keep drinking, your liver's going to fail on you." And if someone's family member says, "Gosh, it really hurt me that you didn't show up to pick up my child from school." And the employer says, "Hey, it hurt my business when you didn't show up to work last week.
And I don't want to let you go, but..."
I don't want to let you go, but... Or I don't want to... One of the other problems, I don't want to get off on a rant about specific substances or anything else like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you think it over? We're at the bottom of the hour, and think about it while we're on break. We're going to be out for about a minute or so, and come back. We just barely scratched the surface today, and we're going to be right back. You're listening to this week's edition of It Could Be You. I'm John S. Hang in there. We'll be back in about a minute.
I'm a firefighter.
A teacher.
I'm a farmer.
I'm a barber.
A waitress.
A mom.